Mystical City of God, translated from the original Spanish by Michael Kress, read by the translator. Book 1, Chapter 25. How at a year and a half old the Blessed Virgin Mary began to speak, and her occupations until she entered the temple. 389. The time had come for the holy silence of the most pure Mary to be broken at the right moment and in perfect harmony, so that the voice of that divine turtle-dove, Cant 2:12, might be heard in our land, serving as the faithful messenger of the summer of grace. But before she was granted permission by the Lord to begin speaking with men, at the age of 18 months, she was granted an intellectual vision of the divinity, not an intuitive one, but rather through infused species. These renewed and increased the graces and blessings she had already received. And in this divine vision, a most sweet colloquy took place between the infant Mary and the Supreme Lord, which I, with reverence and trembling, attempt to render into words. 390. The Queen spoke to His Majesty, Most High Lord and incomprehensible God, how is it that you so greatly favor the most useless and poor of creatures? How is it that you, in your infinite majesty, incline yourself with such loving condescension toward your unworthy servant, who is incapable of offering anything in return? Does the Most High truly look upon His handmaid? Does the Almighty enrich the poor? Does the Holy One of Holies bow down to the dust? I am but a little one among all creatures, the least deserving of your favors. What shall I do in your divine presence? How shall I repay all that I owe you? What do I possess, Lord, that is not already yours, since you are the one who gives me being, life, and movement? Yet my joy shall be in this, that all goodness belongs to you alone, and that the creature possesses nothing apart from you. May it be to your own magnificence and glory that you raise up those who are least, that you favor the most unworthy, and that you grant being to those who had none, so that your greatness may be all the more known and exalted. 391. The Lord responded to her, saying, My dove, my chosen and beloved one, in my eyes you have found grace. You are sweet to me, my friend and my elect, and in you I find my delight. I wish to manifest to you what will be most pleasing to me, and what will bring me the greatest joy. These words from the Lord struck anew the tender yet strong heart of the infant queen, filling her with such love that she was nearly overcome. But the Most High, pleased with her, continued, I am the God of mercies, and with boundless love I love mortals. And though many have turned away from me through their sins, I still have some just and faithful ones who have served me with sincere hearts. I have determined to bring them salvation by sending them my only begotten Son, so that they may no longer be deprived of my glory, nor I of their eternal praise. 392. To this divine declaration, the most holy infant Mary responded, Most High Lord and mighty King, all creatures are yours, and yours is all power. You alone are the Holy One and the supreme governor of all creation. Let your own goodness move you to hasten the coming of your only begotten Son for the redemption of the children of Adam. Let the long-awaited day of my ancient fathers arrive at last, and let mortals see your eternal salvation. Why, beloved Lord, since you are the merciful Father of compassion, do you delay so long the mercy so greatly desired by your afflicted and captive children? If my life can be of any service, I offer it freely, ready to give it for them. 393. The Most High, with great benevolence, commanded her that from that moment on, she should ask Him many times each day to hasten the incarnation of the eternal Word, and to obtain the salvation of all mankind. He also instructed her to weep for the sins of men, which hindered their own redemption and healing. Then He revealed to her that the time had come for her to exercise all her senses, and that for His greater glory it was fitting that she begin to speak with human creatures. In response to this command, the infant Mary said to His Majesty, 394. Most High Lord my God, all that I am belongs to your divine will. May it be done according to your pleasure, for that alone is my joy and my desire. I ask, O my King, that you govern my tongue, so that it may never utter a word that is not for your glory and the edification of my fellow creatures. May it be my constant purpose to praise you, to call upon your name, and to inspire in all hearts the love and reverence that are due to you. I shall speak only when it is your will, and I shall remain silent when you so command. Let all my words be guided by your wisdom, so that I may never stray from the path of righteousness. How at 1.5 years old the Blessed Virgin Mary began to speak, and her occupations until she entered the temple. 395. This was the response of the most holy infant Mary, who feared the new and dangerous ministry of speech to which she was being commanded. As far as her own will was concerned, if God had permitted it, she desired to maintain perpetual silence and remain mute her entire life. What a great lesson and rebuke to the folly of mortals, that she, who could not sin by speaking, feared the danger of the tongue, while we, who cannot speak without sinning, are eager and restless to do so. But, sweetest child and queen of all creation, how could you desire to remain silent? Do you not consider, my lady, that your silence would have meant the ruin of the world, sorrow for heaven, and, to our limited understanding, even a great void for the most blessed Trinity itself? Do you not know that with a single phrase spoken to the holy archangel, Fiat mihi, Luke 1 verse 38, you will bring fulfillment to all that exists? You will become daughter to the eternal Father, mother to the eternal Son, and spouse to the Holy Spirit. You will be the restoration of the angels, the salvation of mankind, the glory of the heavens, the peace of the earth, the advocate of the world, the healing of the sick, and the life of the dead. You will accomplish the will and divine pleasure of all that God himself could ever desire outside of himself. Since from your single word depends the greatest work of infinite power and the greatest good of all creation, how, my lady and teacher, can you wish to remain silent when you are destined to speak so perfectly? Speak then, O child, and let your voice resound throughout all of heaven. 396. The Most High was pleased with the prudent reserve of his spouse, and his heart was once again moved by the loving fear of this most exalted child. As if satisfied with his beloved one, the most blessed Trinity, conferring among themselves, spoke the words of the Song of Songs, Cant 8:8-9. Our little sister is still small, and she has no breasts. What shall we do for our sister on the day she is to speak? If she is a wall, let us build upon her ramparts of silver. You are small, dear sister, in your own eyes, but in ours you are and will be great. By your humility you have wounded our heart with a single strand of your hair. Cant 4:9. You are but a child in your own estimation, and this very humility draws and enamors us all the more. You have no lips yet to nourish others with your words, but you are also free from the law of sin, for we did not, nor do we, wish for it to touch you. Though you are exalted above all creatures, you humble yourself. Though you are secure, you fear. Though you are beyond danger, you anticipate its snares. What shall we do with our sister on the day she will open her lips to bless us, when mortals open theirs to blaspheme our holy name? How shall we celebrate so festive a day as when she will begin to speak? What reward shall we give for such humble restraint to the one who has always been so pleasing in our sight? Her silence has been sweet, but her voice shall be even sweeter in our ears. If she is a strong wall, built upon the foundation of our grace and secured by the power of our arm, then let us raise new ramparts of silver upon such strength. Let us bestow even greater gifts upon the ones she has already received, and let them be of silver, so that she may be even more enriched and precious. May her words, when she speaks, be pure, radiant, and melodious to our ears. May our grace be poured out upon her lips, Psalms 45 verse 3, and may our mighty hand and protection be with her always. 397. At the very moment when, to our understanding, this divine conference was taking place among the three divine persons, our infant queen was strengthened and consoled in her humble concern over beginning to speak. The Lord assured her that he would govern her words and assist her so that all she spoke would be for his service and pleasure. With this reassurance, she asked His Majesty once more for permission and a blessing before opening her lips, now filled with grace. In her perfect prudence and attentiveness, the first words she spoke were to her parents, Saint Joachim and Saint Anne, asking for their blessing, for after God, they were the ones who had given her the life she possessed. The two holy and blessed parents heard her voice for the first time, and at that same moment they saw that she also began to walk on her own. Filled with immense joy of spirit, the happy Mother Anne took her into her arms and said, My daughter and beloved of my heart, may it be for the glory of the Most High that we now hear your voice and words, and that you also begin to take steps for his greater service. May your words be few, measured, and full of wisdom, and may your steps be straight and always directed toward the service and honor of our Creator. 398. The Most Holy Infant Mary listened to these and many other words spoken by her mother, St. Anne, and engraved them upon her tender heart, resolving to keep them with deep humility and obedience. In the following year and a half, until she reached the age of 3, when she was to be presented in the temple, she spoke very little, except when her mother, St. Anne, would call her and command her to speak with her about God and his mysteries. The divine child obeyed, listening and asking questions of her mother. And though she surpassed all creatures in wisdom, she desired to be taught and instructed, and in these conversations, mother and daughter shared the sweetest exchanges about the Lord. 399. It would not be easy, nor even possible, to fully express what the divine infant Mary accomplished during these 18 months spent in the company of her mother. Sometimes, as St. Anne looked upon her daughter, more venerable than the symbolic Ark of the Covenant, she would shed copious and tender tears of love and gratitude. Yet she never revealed to her child the great mystery she carried within her heart, that she was the one chosen to be the mother of the Messiah, though many times they spoke together of this ineffable mystery. At such moments, the infant Mary was inflamed with the most ardent affections, speaking of its great excellencies, and of the dignity of the one who would bear the Redeemer, mysteriously unaware that she was speaking of herself. And in St. Anne's heart, joy, love, and reverence for her heavenly treasure and daughter only increased. How the Most Holy Child Mary began to speak at a year and a half old, and her occupations until she entered the temple 400. The delicate strength of the infant queen was no match for the humble works and tasks to which her fervent and profound humility and love inclined her. She, who was the lady of all creation, considered herself the least among all creatures, and longed to demonstrate this belief through her actions. She desired to serve everyone in her household, believing that if she did not, she would not be fulfilling her duty or satisfying her debt to the Lord. In truth, the only thing she fell short in was fulfilling her own burning desire, for her physical strength could not keep up with her immense will. Even the highest seraphim would have gladly kissed the ground where she placed her sacred feet. Yet despite this, she often attempted to perform the humblest tasks, such as sweeping and cleaning her home. When she was not allowed to do so openly, she sought opportunities to perform these tasks in solitude, aided by her guardian angels, who assisted her so that she might gain the fruit of her humility. 401. Joachim's household was neither rich nor poor, maintaining a standard of living befitting their honorable lineage. According to this, St. Anne wished to dress her most holy daughter in the best clothing she could provide, always within the bounds of modesty and propriety. The most humble child Mary accepted this maternal care while she was still silent, offering no resistance. But when she began to speak, she humbly asked her mother not to dress her in fine garments or anything with adornment. Instead, she requested simple, poor clothing, preferably second-hand if possible, and of an ashen-gray color, similar to the habit worn today by the religious of St. Clare. The Holy Mother, who regarded and revered her own daughter as her lady, responded, "My daughter, I will do as you ask in the style and color of your garments, but your young body is too delicate to bear the rough fabric you desire. In this you will obey me." 402. The obedient child did not argue against the will of her mother, St. Anne, for she never did so. She accepted the clothing her mother gave her, though it was in the color and simple style she had requested, resembling the devotional garments sometimes worn by children. Though she desired greater austerity and poverty, she compensated for this with obedience, which is a virtue more excellent than sacrifice. 1 Samuel 15, verse 22. Thus, the most holy child Mary remained obedient to her mother while maintaining her interior spirit of poverty, considering herself unworthy of even the simplest necessities that sustained her natural life. In her obedience to her parents, she was most excellent and prompt during the 3 years she lived with them. With the divine knowledge that allowed her to perceive their interior dispositions, she was always prepared to obey instantly. And for anything she did on her own, she always sought her mother's blessing and permission, humbly and reverently kissing her hand. Although the prudent mother outwardly accepted this sign of respect, inwardly she reverenced the grace and dignity of her most holy daughter. 403. At times, when the opportunity arose, the Holy Child withdrew into solitude, allowing her to enjoy greater freedom in her visions and divine conversations with the holy angels. In these moments, she would manifest her ardent love for God with external gestures, at times prostrating herself, weeping, and afflicting her perfect and tender little body in sorrow for the sins of mankind. She implored the Lord's mercy upon sinners, entreating him to pour out his graces upon them. From that very moment she began to merit great favors for humanity. Though her interior sorrow for the offenses against God and the force of her love often caused her the most intense pain, the moment she began to exercise the strength of her young body, she dedicated it to penance and mortification. In this she was already fulfilling her role as Mother of Mercy and Mediatrix of Grace, never wasting a single moment, effort, or action that could obtain graces for herself and for us. 404. When she reached 2 years of age, she became particularly devoted to charity and care for the poor. She would ask her mother, St. Anne, for alms to give to those in need. The pious mother satisfied both her daughter's holy desires and the needs of the poor, encouraging her to love and serve them. She, who was the teacher of charity and perfection, instructed her most holy daughter to be compassionate toward the poor. Beyond what she received from her mother to give away, the infant Mary also reserved a portion of her own meals to distribute to the needy, even at that young age. Thus she could rightfully say, as the holy Job did, "From my infancy mercy grew with me." Whenever she gave alms to the poor, she did not do so as one bestowing a favor, but rather as one paying a debt. In her heart she would say, "This brother and Lord of mine is owed what he lacks, and I possess it undeservedly." When she handed over the alms, she would kiss the hands of the poor, and if she was alone, she would kiss their feet. If this was not possible, she would at least kiss the ground where they had walked. But never did she give alms without offering something greater to their souls. She would intercede for them before the Lord, obtaining graces and spiritual assistance for them. Thus those who received from her did not leave her presence with merely their bodily needs met, but also with their souls enriched. 405. The most holy child Mary's humility and obedience were no less admirable in allowing herself to be taught how to read and learn other things appropriate for a child of her age. Her holy parents undertook this task, instructing her in reading and other subjects. Though she was already filled with infused knowledge of all created things, she received their teachings in silence, listening and learning from them. The angels marveled at this wondrous prudence in one so young. Her mother, St. Anne, observing her divine daughter with the love and light given to her, often praised the Most High for her child's virtues. Yet, as the time approached for her presentation in the temple, her love for her daughter grew alongside the fear of being separated from her. For she knew that when the appointed time arrived, at the completion of 3 years, as decreed by the Almighty, she would have to fulfill her vow and entrust her most holy daughter entirely to God. The infant Mary, understanding this divine will, began preparing her mother in advance. 6 months before the appointed time, she frequently expressed her ardent desire to be in the temple, reminding her mother of the great benefits they had received from God's hand. She urged that it was their sacred duty to fulfill his supreme pleasure, assuring her mother that in the temple, being consecrated to God, she would belong even more to him than she could while living at home. How the Holy Mother St. Anne prepared to offer her daughter Mary in the temple. 406. The Holy Mother Anne listened to the wise words of her most holy daughter, and though she was entirely surrendered to the divine will, and fully resolved to fulfill her promise of offering her beloved child the force of natural maternal love for so unique and precious a treasure, combined with the knowledge of the inestimable gift she possessed in her daughter, created a struggle within her faithful heart. The pain of the impending separation weighed heavily upon her, drawing ever closer. Without a doubt, she would have succumbed to this profound and piercing sorrow had not the powerful hand of the Most High sustained her. The grace and dignity of her divine daughter, which only she understood, had completely captivated her heart. Her presence and companionship were more desirable to her than life itself. Amid this interior suffering, she sometimes replied to her child with sorrow, "My dearest daughter, for many years I longed for you, yet I am granted only a short time to enjoy your company, for the will of God must be done. Though I do not resist my promise to bring you to the temple, I still have time to fulfill it. Have patience, my child, until the day comes when your desires will be accomplished." 407. A few days before the Most Holy Virgin reached her 3rd birthday, she experienced an abstract vision of the divinity, in which it was revealed to her that the time had come for her to be taken to the temple, where she would live wholly dedicated and consecrated to his service. Upon receiving this revelation, her pure soul was filled with renewed joy and gratitude. Speaking with the Lord, she offered him her thanksgiving, saying, "Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, my eternal and supreme good, since I cannot praise you worthily, may all the angelic spirits praise you in my name. For you, O boundless Lord, who have no need of anything, look upon this lowly worm with the greatness of your infinite mercy. How is it that I, the least of creatures, should receive such a grace, that you should welcome me into your house and service, when I do not even deserve the most despised place on the earth that bears me? But since you, in your own greatness, have bound yourself to this act of goodness, I beseech you, my Lord, to place the fulfillment of your divine will in the hearts of my parents, so that they may carry it out as you have commanded." 408. Shortly after, Saint Anne also received a vision in which the Lord instructed her to fulfill her promise by bringing her daughter to the temple on the exact day she turned 3 years old. Without a doubt, this command was an even greater trial for the mother than the command given to Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. However, the Lord himself consoled and strengthened her, promising his grace and assistance in the solitude she would endure after parting with her beloved daughter. The holy matron, surrendering herself completely, was ready to obey the command of the Most High. In obedience, she offered this prayer: "Lord and eternal God, sovereign of my entire being, I have already offered my daughter to your temple and service, for you, in your ineffable mercy, have given her to me. She is yours. I give her back to you with heartfelt thanksgiving for the time you have allowed me to conceive and raise her. Yet, Lord and Master, remember that in guarding your inestimable treasure, I was made rich. She was my companion in this exile and valley of tears, my joy and sorrow, my consolation and labor. She was a mirror in which to measure my life, a model of supreme perfection that awakened my sluggish spirit and inflamed my love for you. Through this one child, I have hoped for your grace and mercy, and now I fear that, without her, I will be deprived of all. Heal, O Lord, the wound in my heart, and do not deal with me according to what I deserve, but rather look upon me as a most merciful Father. I will take my daughter to the temple as you have commanded." 409. At the same time, Saint Joachim also received a heavenly vision, in which the Lord commanded him to do the same as he had instructed Saint Anne. After conferring together and recognizing the divine will, the holy couple resolved to obey, and set the day on which they would bring their daughter to the temple. Though Saint Joachim also experienced profound sorrow and tenderness in his own way, his grief was not as great as that of Saint Anne, for at that time he was still unaware of the most exalted mystery, that his daughter was to become the Mother of God. Doctrine of the Queen of Heaven 410. My dearest daughter, take heed that all who live are destined to die, yet none know the hour of their passing. What they do know with certainty is that their time is short, while eternity has no end. In that eternity, a person will reap only what they have sown, whether it be good or evil, leading either to eternal life or eternal death. In this perilous journey, God does not wish anyone to be certain of whether they stand in his love or his rejection. If they are wise, this uncertainty should serve as a motivation to strive with all their strength to secure his friendship. From the moment a soul begins to use reason, God justifies his cause. He places within it an inner light and a guiding voice, stirring it toward virtue and warning it against sin. He teaches the soul to discern between fire and water, to choose good and reject evil, to embrace virtue and shun vice. Beyond this, he constantly awakens and calls the soul to himself through holy inspirations, sacraments, commandments, preachers, confessors, superiors, and teachers. He speaks through personal trials and blessings, the example of others, tribulations, deaths, and countless other ways arranged by his providence to lead all to salvation. All these elements form a great treasury of grace, which every creature is both able and obligated to use for their good. 4:11. Yet against this divine assistance the lower sensory nature of man wages war. The fomes peccati inclines the soul toward worldly temptations, stirring the passions, concupiscence, and anger, so that by clouding reason they drag the blind will into seeking pleasure under the guise of freedom. The devil, through deception and false illusions, darkens the mind and conceals the deadly poison hidden within transient pleasures. Yet even then, the Most High does not abandon his creatures. Rather, he renews his mercy and aid, calling them back again. If a soul responds to these first invitations, God grants even greater graces in his justice. The more a soul cooperates, the more these graces increase and multiply. As a reward for resisting temptation, a soul's passions and sinful inclinations weaken. Its spirit grows lighter, and it becomes stronger against the enemy, more free to ascend toward heavenly things. 412. But if a person, instead of resisting, gives themselves over to pleasure and forgetfulness, if they take the hand of God's enemy and their own, the further they drift from divine goodness, the less worthy they become of his calling. The graces they receive, even great ones, become less effective, for the devil and their own unchecked passions gain greater control over their reason. The result is a soul increasingly blind and incapable of responding to the grace of the Most High. Understand well, my daughter and friend, that this teaching holds the key to either salvation or damnation. It depends on whether a soul begins by resisting or by welcoming the assistance of the Lord. Never forget this lesson. Respond always to the many callings you receive from the hand of the Most High. Be strong in resisting your enemies, and be precise and eager in carrying out the will of your Lord, for this will bring him delight. I had great love for my parents, and the tenderness of my mother's words deeply moved my heart. Yet, because I knew it was God's will for me to leave them, I forgot my people and my father's house, not in affection, but in order to follow my divine spouse. A good upbringing and holy instruction in childhood have a great impact on what follows. When a soul learns from the moment it first uses reason to follow this true and secure path, it is far more free and accustomed to virtue.